except upon the consent of a majority of the district board. No more than 3 people may be heard to one side of an issue, except upon the consent of a majority of the district board. First on our list today is Pat McFarland. Would you come on up to the chair here, please? Welcome.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. Hello.
Well, my first question is, how many of you are going to vote?
Hi.
Oh, it's looking good. Okay. So
Let's not have a conversation
Oh.
with the people who are here. Please come and speak to the board.
Okay, hi, board. It's important to me that our students have easy access to voting. So I have taught here for 39 years. I've been retired for 6 years. And every year I encourage my students to get out and vote. And now I'm speaking to you as a board member of the League of Women Voters. And our slogan is empower voting and defend democracy. So this year is really important. We could say every year is important, but for sure, I want the MATC students to be able to vote with as much ease as they can. So just a quick note about having been here 39 years. When I started, I was 29, and the average age of the student was 29. And so please do not call our college students kids. I would never have turned to my classmates and said, hey, kids, let's get going here. So I just ask that as a professional courtesy. Also, it's really important to me that the hours that are currently scheduled are changed. So I don't know how much influence you have, how much power you have, but I would really like you to use your influence and call the city and ask them to increase the start time from, instead of 11, when many students have left, or they would all try to vote at 11. That doesn't make sense. Let's go for 9 a.m. And then I don't care if we vote on Saturday. We don't get that much activity with students here on Saturday, but I'd really be grateful if you have any influence to call the city and to try to get the voting earlier in the day. What questions do you have?
None. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Shania Cooper.
Hello,
Welcome.
everyone. I am Shania Cooper. So my name is Shania Cooper, and I am a student influencer here on campus. And my job is to encourage and influence the fellow students of MATC to be a part of the upcoming election. Our goal is to reach as many students as possible and educate them on how to register, get them registered, and also where they can go to vote. So one of our biggest key points have been our appreciation of the early voting site here on campus, which has been one of our biggest tips and encouraging tips for students actually to vote. They may go through the process of actually getting registered and speak with us and sign our pledge cards, but most of them really do worry about how they're going to get to their voting location, if they're going to have time, the willingness, and etc. So as again, we are very appreciative to MATC being an early voting site, which is great. But I do just want to speak a little bit on about the time confliction. I think our main goal and our sole purpose is to reach as many students as possible to vote. So we do want to maximize that by at least requesting kindly for at least 9. We will possibly compromise with 10, but we do want to press for that 9 a.m. time just to maximize all students, because we do know that most students are on strict times. They have jobs, they have other things going outside of school, and a high percentage of students partake in morning classes. So we do just want to express that so very kindly. And that will be all. And we're also willing to compromise one of those weekend days like Friday or Saturday, as less students are most likely to be on campus if you're so willing to do that for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions? Okay.
Thank you. Gregory Lewis. Please come to the front. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Well, here we go again. You know, the most pressing issues we have today is getting young people to participate in the process. And it's very, very difficult. And, you know, I am the executive director of Souls to the Polls, Wisconsin. And we encourage folks to come out and be engaged. And the most difficult people we found to get engaged are our young people. They don't believe in us anymore. They don't want to listen to us anymore. They don't believe in the process. They think their votes don't count. And I think that, you know, it was wonderful for MATC to give us an opportunity to come in this building, come in your buildings, and encourage folks to understand their power. But as we do that, I think we ought to make it as easy as possible for them to vote. And it seems like, you know, the time frame to vote is kind of skewed, you know, because, you know, for my thinking, I'm thinking the most potent educational times are early in the morning. So they're probably the most conscientious students. So those students will be coming early in the morning, but if they come at 8 o'clock and then they can't vote until 11, those young people are gone. And we missed that opportunity to get maybe 100 or 200 votes that we probably wouldn't get anyway. We need every vote we can in this election to make a difference in this town. So those times are very important as far as I'm concerned. It's almost like Sunday voting for Souls to the Polls. You know, we call it Souls to the Polls because we want to take souls to the polls after church on a Sunday. Now, if you give me a time for the voting from 10 to 2, that'll make sense because we're all in church. I'm just saying that this is kind of similar. If you, the most conscientious students are coming in the morning. The most conscientious students are coming early in the morning. We'd like to have that student have the opportunity to go down and vote. I mean, and it's a simple process. We shouldn't make it harder for folks to vote. You know, in the Netherlands, when people are born, they become 18 and they're automatically registered to vote. And if you don't vote, you get a ticket. It seems like here in America, you might get a ticket if you go vote. We need to change that for our young people. They need to see us really understanding and knowing that our process is great. They need to see that democracy is something that works and it ought to be simple for them to participate. So I'm just asking if you would, that if you could encourage our election commissioner to really, you know, bring that time down to an earlier time in the morning, I think that would be beneficial for all. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Next is David Weingrod. Come on up, David. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hello.
So one of the activities that we do is tabling around campus. And just today, one of our tables were taken away from us. We started out the semester with 3 tables, one on the 2nd floor of the student building, table up in the HT where that small cafeteria is on the 3rd floor, and then where you walk in from the 6th Street parking lot. We started out on the 2nd floor of the S building. Then Tony allowed us to go up to the 3rd floor where, you know, by the cafeteria where you have most students. Look, the whole purpose of this is to get as many students as possible engaged in the election as well as registered to vote. And it was, there'd never been a problem with the table outside the parking lot there. We've never had a complaint. But it was taken away. Apparently, there's something maybe on a form was not written incorrectly, and it just seemed like such a bureaucratic move to take that table away. We actually could staff up 5 tables, and I think we should probably have them in different buildings, because the whole point is to engage with this wider variety of students that are here as possible. Get them all of them as many as we can registered. And then voting. So what I'd urge you to do is basically loosen up on that and let us put the table back where it was. And I would even say, let us have tables, like, you should have one in the T building, it should be one in the H building. Because that's where the students are. Not everybody goes to the cafeteria or these places. It's kind of a spread out campuses, you know.
Right.
Thank you.
Before you go,
Yeah.
so everyone knows who you are, rather than just me looking at it on the sheet here. You keep saying we are doing all these things. Who is we?
Okay, so we have a project that's part of Souls to the Polls and the
Okay.
Fast Fund. And it's a nonpartisan voter registration, voter engagement project.
Okay, thank you very much. Darnell Brown.
Hello, my name is Darnell Brown with the MATC Fast Food. I have the privilege to support them and, you know, I help table with them and I've been tabling around the area. And I usually been in the main building, tabling and helping the students. There's a lot of students that's come out the elevator, so it's a good opportunity to talk to the students and to help them out also. And, you know, we get somebody new every day, so, you know, that's great. And, you know, my request would be to ask that we are able to get the table back over there because the table was taken from us, even though we've been tabling over there for over a month now. So I don't understand why the table was taken from us, and I would like the table to be back there where we can help as many students as possible. And that's all I request. And that's what I gotta say.
Thank you very much. Next is Lisa Conley. Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm here in case you were missing me last month. So,
But
Chairperson,
just before you begin, just 1 second. Did you note that Director Mauro Mukundi
Yes,
has joined us? Okay, and Director Njeta Ramos is here now. I'm sorry, go ahead.
okay, thank you. Chairperson Foley, other members of the board, President Cruz, MATC colleagues, students, and others in the room or watching online, good afternoon. I'm Dr. Lisa Conley, President of AFT Local 212, the union representing all faculty, professional staff, and the engineers and production specialists at Milwaukee PBS. On behalf of 212's leadership team and executive board, welcome to another school year, although belated. To MATC's board directors, thank you for serving. I know and my team knows that your time is valuable. To Dr. Cruz, thank you for regular meeting with union representatives to date. We know your time is also very valuable, and we hope that you find the meetings fruitful and that we will continue to look for common solutions. To my colleagues, thank you for your dedication to the mission of this college, to our students and the communities that we serve. And to our students, your uniqueness and talents are celebrated, you matter, and we are glad that you chose MATC. Now, I'm here to provide perspective on a current agenda item and to follow up on some remarks I made earlier in the academic year. First, as the president of AFT Local 212, I was surprised and perplexed with the rationale provided for agenda item 6G, retirement of board policy C1300-C, bargaining agents. As although I appear to be alluded to specifically, I have no recollection of such conversation. Nor can I confirm that another union agent agreed to provide language to update the employee handbook to reflect union representation for the specific purpose of replacing board policy with handbook language, or that the recommendations came before the handbook committee. Second, I am here to highlight a few concerns I voiced during my Coordination Day plenary remarks about a month ago, including, number one, the fact that the anticipated fair and equitably applied lead faculty ancillary support, also known as ZAMSL, specifically for completion of crucial work during the summer term, never adequately materialized. Number two, The failure to fill much needed open full-time faculty lines and the rigid release of LTEs continues, even in areas where enrollment trends, college separations, department or program demographics, and college initiatives clearly demonstrate their need. And related to this, faculty and other student supporting employees are experiencing increasingly cumulative stress, fatigue, and burnout due to heightened and ever more complicated and stressful workplace conditions and demands. These were amplified for faculty this past month by last minute and in sometimes drastic schedule changes and forced overloads that were used to address the confluence of austerity-related faculty staffing shortages, a huge but welcome wave of mid-August student enrollments that faculty in affected areas predicted may be coming, and the unilateral opening of additional course sections right before classes started without first checking with the affected academic areas to make sure that they had capacity to staff them. Well, I again thank Dr. Cruz for the opportunities afforded to share these concerns. The insurance provided that solutions can be found and that we will work collaboratively as a college to find solutions. I'm bringing them here nonetheless as a reminder that one, they are not yet fully addressed, and that two, and most importantly maybe, that when MATC values and taps into the collective intellectual capital, historical knowledge, and professional expertise of its frontline workforce, when we are seen, heard, and at the table early and often, our history confirms that big issues can be addressed and that solutions can be found. Please look for an email from me in the coming days that will contain that copy of my coordination day remarks if you're so inclined to review them. And I thank you for your time and attention. Have a great meeting.
Thank you. Next is Arlen Garcia Novella. Did I pronounce that correctly, first of all?
Yes.
Welcome.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Arlen Garcia Novelli. I'm the internal communications coordinator here at MATC. I do the week ahead, if you've ever heard, is the employee and students weekly newsletter. But besides that, I'm a Latina, and prior to being an internal communications coordinator, I was out there in the community representing MATC as a bilingual recruiter and also working with programs like ESL and Spanish GED. So I've had one-on-one contact with Hispanics, and I understand their needs and their desire to get higher education. But today I'm here to talk about the HSI Day of Engagement that happened here on campus on Friday, September 13th. This year's theme was Collective Efforts for Hispanic Students, which underscores the significance of promoting the HSI Day of Engagement. The consistent attendance of over 100 participants each year for the past 4 years reflects our understanding that collaboration is essential to achieving our goal. We extended invitations to leaders from our sister institutions within the Wisconsin Technical College system, including Madison, Fox Valley, Gateway, and Northeast Wisconsin, who participated in a president's panel to discuss their initiatives aimed at fostering inclusive environments for all students, because we realize that representation matters. Additionally, we heard insights from Dr. Najera and Dr. Rodriguez regarding our HSI efforts over the past year, as well as from Nancy Hernandez, CEO of the Hispanic Collaborative, who provided valuable data and perspective on the Hispanic population within our district compared to similar cities nationwide. Milwaukee can do better. The planning for this event is spearheaded by the HSI Steering Committee and through the subcommittee called Visibility and Awareness. The subcommittee's primary goal is to educate individuals about HSI so we can eliminate statements such as, I didn't know, I wasn't informed, I'm not Hispanic, so why should I be part of it? The goal is to convey that HSI is a collective effort that benefits the entire MATC community. Collaboration, community, and unity are paramount in this venture. Understanding the recruitment processes, recognizing the challenges faced by our students, and being prepared to assist are all responsibilities we share. This is the essence of the HSI Day of Engagement, to involve everyone in this vital work, gain insights from other colleges, and draw inspiration from our students, whom we also invite to participate. It is an opportunity for MATC leaders to demonstrate their support, much like Dr. Martin and now Dr. Cruz have done. The HSI Day of Engagement serves as a platform to discuss what it means to be Hispanic serving institution, but more importantly, it aims to engage others in the critical task of attaining designated as a Hispanic serving institution, which means increased resources, which are not only for Hispanic students, but for everyone to succeed. If you look at the numbers of how many Hispanic students we had here in 2021, when we began to do the HSI Day of Engagement, and you look at the numbers today, you can see one thing: these are successful. And I thank everybody here who came and showed up. But we certainly missed people like the deans, for example, who work directly with students, and we definitely miss a lot of the faculty. My intention today is to recognize the work that is put together to make the HSI Day of Engagement possible, because things like this, that representation really calls the attention of our community. If you ask, for example, me, in Latin countries, technical education is for poor people or not smart enough. So we come to this country with that in our heads. That's why I went to a private school and I got a lot of student loans. But if my parents would have had the information that technical education here is more valued and that it means higher salaries, trust me, I would have been an MATC graduate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Sam Burgos. Welcome.
Hey, thank you. Good evening. All right. My name is Samantha Burgos, and I'm a bilingual retention coach serving math students at MATC under the Building Math Success Grant. I've worked in corporate in marketing and product management, later transitioning into higher education, teaching English as a second language to our international communities, both in Chicago and in Milwaukee. I began my time with MATC supporting our GED, HSED, ESL, and IET students, standing alongside them as they stepped into higher education, many of them breaking ground as first-generation college students. I am entering my third year in the current position that I hold, supporting underserved communities seeking to find success in math classes while managing obstacles such as math anxiety, imposter syndrome, and more. Through sessions with me, students identify their values, they discover their strengths, ignite motivation, and activate their neuroplasticity and growth mindset through strategic coaching conversations and activities rooted in the latest research coming out of the field of positive psychology. To watch a student step into their power is to stand on sacred ground, and I'm immensely grateful every single day for MATC and the gift it is to partner with these students and watch them flourish of their own volition from their own insightful decisions, creating the lives that they want. I'm here today to express thanks, gratitude, and a very real experience of awe after having attended the HSI Day of Engagement on Friday, September 13th. As a member of the HSI Steering Committee, which has been diligently working to raise awareness around HSI initiatives, the importance of becoming an HSI and the very real priority of caring for our Latino students, to say the HSI Day of Engagement was a success would be an understatement. Here is how I would break it down: professional, inviting and welcoming, well-organized, safe, informative, rooted in community, collaborative, celebratory, and inspiring. In the morning, we heard from Nancy Hernandez, president of the Hispanic Collaborative, who broke down the index of Hispanic well-being in the nation's largest metro areas, and she talked about Milwaukee. She was clear and concise with her messaging. She leaned on census data to show us the state of Latinos in Milwaukee and where we're headed. The message was clear: the Latino population is growing in Milwaukee, and to help this population to increase their well-being, access to upskilling will be a key component. Who better to do that than MATC? Those of us who have been doing this work have felt what Nancy's numbers showed. It was validating to the work we continuously do to support our community members and their access to family supporting wages. It was also exciting to have fellow faculty, staff, and community members present to feel the urgency of this kind of work we're doing from an insightful and well-informed leader in the community. It truly takes a village, and I felt the village energy in the room light up during Nancy's presentation. In the afternoon, MATC hosted a president's panel, which created space for presidents from Wisconsin's tech college system to come together and talk through the strategies, visions, and personal experiences and goals when it comes to either becoming an HSI or maintaining HSI status. Our very own Dr. Cruz sat alongside these panel members whose presence shone brightly as a united front of leaders collaborating in real time on best practices to support and uplift the Latino community, which in turn lifts up the entire community. And it was a sight to behold. Our HSI steering committee team left feeling re-inspired, reinvigorated, and supported not only by MATC, but the broader community in our mission to bring holistic, culturally sensitive, and access to our Latino community members. I am deeply appreciative and grateful to all who dedicated the time, energy, and organizing and funds to make this event a reality. Adelante.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is the end of our public comments for today. Thank you all for addressing the board and sharing your concerns. The board will not be responding to any matter in adherence to the state of Wisconsin open meetings law, which prevents a governmental body from discussing any specific item that was not publicly noticed on the agenda. So we'll move forward with our agenda. The next agenda item is approval of the minutes from the last regular board meeting on August 27th. Is there a motion?
To approve the minutes from the
Thank
August
you.
27th meeting.
Director Owen Moore and a second from Director Pence. Is there any discussion? Any discussion from the directors online? Seeing none, we have a motion from Director Owen Moore and a second from Director Pence. Would all those in favor of approving the minutes, please indicate that by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone else on Director Moore Mukundi? Can you unmute yourself?
He did that.
He did. Okay, great. Sorry, I missed it. Thank you. The minutes are approved. Next is approval of the consent agenda items. We have 5 of them this time. Let me just see if there are any specific items that we want to pull out from there. Director Pence?
On the construction report, I'd like some clarification on contractor selection.
Okay, Director Baker?
I would like to raise an issue in the human resources report.
Okay,
I have one more
okay.
in the financial report.
All right.
God, I'd like to one up him, but I can't.
Maybe 2.
We will have a refresher course on poker bidding later tonight. All right, well, let's start with the easy ones, I think. I don't think there's going to be any discussion about the August bills or the procurement report. Could I get a motion for approval of those as consent agenda items?
Mr. Chair, I'll move approval of items 4A and 4D.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, so we have a motion from Director Baker, a second from Director Mendieta Ramos. With all those in favor of approving the August 2024 bills and the procurement report as consent agenda items, indicate that by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those consent agenda items are approved. Let's see. Why don't we start with Director Pence and the financial report? Would you tell us what your concerns are there?
I have a suggestion and a thought that we separate from the salary line items and a line item for Zancell costs that can be tracked and looked for as an improvement over time.
Okay, on the financial reports.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Let's see, Director Keith, Director.
Certainly.
Would our CFO please? A little louder, please.
Certainly.
Right, it would be a separate.
So.
Hold on one second.
Okay.
All right, go ahead, please.
Okay, so I'm sure you didn't have a chance to review the response that I sent. Zancel is a particularly complex matter, but, it's very technical and there's a lot of mechanics behind it, but essentially for Zancel, everybody or many of you know that Zancel is essentially an assignment for non-instructional work. So we want to break that out and we want to be able to track and measure that. So the difficulty comes with full-time faculty. So full-time faculty are paid evenly over 20 bi-weekly paychecks during the course of the year. And all of we have, a certain number, 500-ish full-time faculty positions, which are hard-coded to, I don't want to get too technical here, 2 GL budget lines, right? So that if there is a Zancel or non-instructional assignment that's part of a full-time faculty load, essentially there is really, because our scheduling system really doesn't talk to our finance system, and our finance full-time faculty positions are paid using one budget line that's associated with a pathway or program. You want to charge that full-time faculty line to a particular program. So when the Zancel assignments go up and down and they change as the assignments change, Zancel is an assignment, not unlike any like coursework is. You have instructional assignments and you have Zancel assignments, which are non-instructional work. It's just because we pay full-time faculty out of positions, and that scheduling system doesn't talk to that, we get load from scheduling, and we need that distilled to hours. And those hours are what the finance team uses to pay out of a position that's coded to a particular program. Are you following? So we can't identify that piece of the hours for a full-time faculty that.
How do you add it to payroll?
Well, because for full-time for payroll, so we get a load, there's a load report that's produced by scheduling. And then there's a process that's run to convert that load to hours. And then simply those hours are used to, against the rate of pay for full-time faculty to determine that pay. So we get hours. And furthermore, we have over 500 full-time faculty positions. So when those schedules change, then when one or more or several full-time faculty have a change in the non-instructional work that's not being done, every payroll cycle for us to go into those positions and change those budget allocations, it's really not feasible in the current system that we're working.
Is it a manual process?
Yes, it's a manual process.
Oh, sorry.
It's a manual process.
Director Baker.
So much room for
Right, so,
error.
and I hate to disagree with my friend Director Pence. But I would say this item that we get every month is meant to be a snapshot, like a sort of a global snapshot. And I've been the one who has said at times, I need to know more about what's going on. And I think we're looking at ways for the board to have that increased oversight. But to take this snapshot and break down individual parts of it, does become somewhat burdensome. But I also understand the desire to sort of get a sense of what are we spending on Zancel and how are we doing that? And so perhaps what we could ask for is a separate reporting that in the finance could work with us on whether that is something that happens quarterly or, after the semester begins or whatever would be an appropriate time so that we can see how that expense is going and can track it through the course of the year. Would that help in understanding?
I thought it would be easiest to put one
Excellent.
line item into this budget and then subtract it, even an estimate or some kind of situation.
Let me suggest this. Instead of us deciding how they should get the information to us, we need to have a regular way of tracking the Zansel, understanding what we're spending on Zansel. Would you please figure out the best way to do that and come back to us with it? Yeah, yeah. There's another issue though that you've identified here that I think I've been hearing the same thing for the 9 years I've been on the board, which is that our software programs don't talk to each other. And that's something which we need to address somehow. And again, I'm not going to tell you, and I'm not going to let anybody else tell you how to do it, but I think this is something we are way past the time to address. I don't know what the status is of the software licensing agreement or the licensor's development plans or what have you. Usually you find yourself waiting for years for them to deliver something that in the end may not do what you wanted anyway. But this inability to exchange data between the scheduling system and the payroll system is just really unacceptable. You can't manage this business properly if you can't do that. And I don't know what amount of personnel time it actually costs us to do those conversions and do the special reports and do this and do that, but this has to be a priority that we figure out soon.
Just to
Dr.
add to
Mendieta
that,
Ramos.
what's concerning is that all of this is done manually, so it leaves a lot of room for human error.
Right.
Which could be very costly for the college.
Right. We have our working committee. Did I get that name right?
Yes.
Yeah, close enough. Looking at how to improve the board's financial oversight in general and budgeting as well. And maybe this is something we should make sure is in the final report back to the board. Any other discussion about the financial report? Is that
Other than that, it looks good.
okay? Anyone else on the board in the room with a question about the financial report? Anyone of the online directors with a question or comment about the financial report? Director Najib?
Yeah, if still the software doesn't talk to each other, maybe there's a time to upgrade to another software where have both departments together, and that's what we did in our multi-specialty clinic. We had to change the whole software to include the schedule with the financial report and everything, and it was a lot more smooth to really to see and follow and use.
Thank you. Anyone else online from the board? Okay, could I have a motion to approve the financial report consent agenda item?
Aye.
Oh, we already have that motion. I'm sorry. You're looking at me like I'm missing something here. You're right.
No, we don't.
We don't.
We only moved.
We only moved on those two.
I think Director Pence just moved it.
Okay,
I'd be
so
happy to
Director
second.
Pence moved, Director Baker second. Any further discussion? Thank you to my colleagues. Would all those in favor please say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The financial reports are approved. Next is the human resources report. Let's see. Could not see you. Dan, why don't you come on up here? Director Baker?
Yeah, and Dan, I don't want to put you on this spot on this right now, but it's just something that I want us to be aware of as we are increasing our efforts to become a Hispanic serving institution. I was not very excited to see the numbers in our hiring in Hispanic and Latinos overall in the college, particularly in faculty. You know, and I know that, you know, we have often talked about the fact that our students welcome seeing people who look like them in their classes and as counselors and, you know, in their interactions and people who speak their language. And I just think that we need to have efforts to be improving our overall diversity, our part-time faculty, our full-time faculty, our full-time staff, our numbers lag, compared to where we should be on that. So I don't know if we have specific work that we're doing in this area, or if not, I'd certainly like to see us make some efforts in that
Right.
direction.
I know with full-time faculty, when we looked at the numbers at the end of June, I think we were running around 9%, which is below I think what the community standard is. So there has been an increased emphasis in that within the past several months, we have efforts to be a corporate sponsor with Hispanic professionals of Greater Milwaukee. We do have partnership with MilwaukeeJobs.com, and they have links to several diverse websites as well. But I saw, yeah, the numbers in terms of Hispanic hires, especially with faculty, is lacking. I think when you look at promotions, it's a little better, but again, we've got a little bit of a limited sample size because these numbers reflect the first 3 months of the fiscal year, but I would agree with a need for increased emphasis and efforts to move those numbers up.
So, and just to be clear, our faculty hiring Hispanics are 0 out of 19. And out of 73 part-time faculty, which is often a pathway to full-time, 5 out of 73. I'm sorry, that first was 0 out of 19. I don't know if I said that correctly. And then 5 out of 73. So I think we'd like to see improvement.
Any other questions or comments? Director Pence?
Can I ask one general question? Shop teachers. Are they required to have both an associate's degree and a journeyman's card to teach the trades?
I don't believe that is the case. I don't know, is Becky also feel? No, I don't believe
That was
that's the
just a
case. I
question.
think
We
it's
don't
the
wanna-
journeyman's card, and then I think a requisite number of years of experience, but I
Okay.
could certainly double check that and get you a response this week, Director Pence.
Just looking back in time, there were times when people were just doing apprenticeships, or there was times when as people grew in the trades, that they were just doing the associate degree and not getting a journeyman's card. So I just want to make sure that we're not leaving anybody out of the loop that could be teaching only specific to shop classes. That's all I'm asking.
Okay, well, that's good. That's why we have you here. Director Baker.
And my recollection, if this helps, when we went through back in the, whenever it was, late 90s, early 2000s, if that course could be transferable to a 4-year degree. So if someone was taking machining, but it could be transferred into an engineering program at a 4-year, that instructor would need to have the bachelor's degree. But if it didn't, if it was not transferable, then the apprenticeship and a requisite was 6 years or something like that of experience.
I think actually if it's transferable to a bachelor's degree, I think that's one level above a
there you go.
bachelor's degree.
Yes.
But for shop classes, I believe it's the journeyman's card and then maybe an hours or years of service and
Okay.
experience in the field, but I will double check that and get back to you this week.
Thank you. Any other questions about the human resources report? Director Baker.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of item 4C, the Human Resources Report.
It's Dr. Najib has his hand.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Dr. Najib.
apologies.
I just thought if the issue is so important for us, I think there's many recruiting company who can recruit people with certain qualifications, certain culture, languages. I don't know if this is a possibility here.
Are you talking about, Dr. Najib, are you talking about recruitment of faculty?
Faculty, Hispanic, yeah, Hispanic speaking faculty. I think because we recruit for technicians, nurses, medical assistant. There's a lot of recruiting company. They can help us and they can recruit nationwide rather than recruiting just around us, if it is that important.
Well,
Director Angelita Ramos.
I know that I've asked before what is being done with HPGM other than being a member.
Mhm.
And I never really got a clear answer. Never heard back because we should be doing more than just joining and paying a membership. We should be networking, attending more than sitting behind a chair. the keys and the networking events when we can get to talk one-on-one with those individuals and then mention the opportunities available, I think.
We do have the ability to do an unlimited number of postings, where in the past, I think maybe we just posted like professional jobs and faculty jobs. And, you know, in terms of the details and in terms of going to their events and those types of things, I'm not
Yeah, I don't know.
sure
Never,
to what extent we're
I've never heard
participating.
back whether or not there was any kind of engagement, because that would be key. At least I know in that community, in our community, that's huge.
Dr. Cruz, I think we're gonna ask you to come back and let us know
What happens?
You take
Yeah,
notes.
Sure.
and
You got your
what's
TC
happening
ready
next.
already?
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna be enough to get more.
I know.
For faculty, but,
It's a start.
but,
It's a start.
but I'll be in an extra special tuxedo.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a motion from Director Baker. Do we have a second, on the motion to approve the Human Resources Report? Director Owen Moore. All those in favor of approving the Human Resources Report indicate that by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The report is approved. Next is the construction report. Director Pence, I think you had.
Mr. Chair,
Cover question.
technically you should get a motion first, actually, before we discuss it.
Is there a motion to approve?
Sure, I'll move approval of, what is that, 4E, the
Thank
construction.
you.
report.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Still have to vote on it. I can see the look in your face.
Director Pence? You want to
So-
tell us your concern?
We have a bid that was sent out for a pretty large capital improvement. I want to understand the contracting process on this. When I see a bid that's $375,000 less than the other bids, it raises a flag that they underbid it, maybe didn't have enough information on the scope of work. Was this a qualification bid or a low bid contract?
Chair, I can answer, but I have Chris here who, if there are more detailed questions, can probably answer them better.
Okay.
Where's the qualification being?
Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
That's unqualified.
Can you tell us about this contracting process?
So this is a project to rebuild the air handler unit that services the southern 40% of the 6th floor of this building. Very antiquated piece of equipment. It's been around 50, 60 years. The base bid is to rebuild the air handler. Then there was an alternate to start servicing not only that air handler, but some of the perimeter heat in the building using natural gas fired boilers to produce hot water heating in lieu of us continuing to use the We Energies steam service, which is going up in price. It's dangerous. It's inefficient. So as part of our sustainability goals, we're going away from the steam service. So the base bid for this project came in within 1 or 2% of each. We had 4 bidders, very close. The alternate number 1 is where the major discrepancy in this total is, about $300,000, as you mentioned, a little more than that. So we certainly contacted the low bidder, and all of the bids are public knowledge. It's a sealed bid that's open. They had an opportunity to review their bids along with their prime subcontractor, the HVAC contractor. We contacted them. They're fully comfortable with their bid. They had opportunity to withdraw their bid, and they're moving forward. They signed the contract. So.
Were they provided an engineering blueprint of this project. I'm looking at this, $370,000 is a lot, and it could end up being 4 million if they come back with a lot of changes, because that's what I've seen in the past.
This was a fully executed set of construction documents, both drawings, engineered drawings, and specifications, project manual. So it's a full set of exercise documents.
And you're comfortable with this, that they're gonna do the right?
This is a general contractor and an HVAC subcontractor that we've used recently. They've done a bunch of the work in the S building just over the last couple of years. In the C building, we're comfortable moving forward with them, yes.
Okay.
Just the,
Director Owen-Moore.
kind of on that, does the university have some protections in its contracting around change orders and things like that?
Certainly they'll be held to what's in those documents. They won't have an opportunity to not execute the work as it's outlined in those documents. If they're, you can't say they're not going to forfeit at some point in time where the general contractor would have to replace them with another HVAC contractor. So I'm guessing that this is on the supply side of those boilers, that maybe they have a different source. They had some savings opportunities there. I don't know where else they could have found this kind of savings in this project. So
you can see my skepticism.
Understood. Yeah, it's about a 23% difference. So
Any other questions about this report? Comments? Anyone, any questions or comments from the director online? Dr. Najib, anything?
No.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion to approve the construction report from Director Baker, a second from Director Tina Owen-Moore. Would all those in favor of approving the report indicate that by saying aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? There being none, the report is approved. Thank you. Next, board action items. Resolution F0331-09-24, authorizing the sale of $1.5 million general obligation promissory note, series 2024-2025D of Milwaukee Area Technical College District, Wisconsin. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. And the second was that Director Burris. Thank you. Mr. Fisher, tell us about the bid.
Good afternoon, everyone. So over the last couple of weeks, everyone probably knows that the Fed made the decision to finally start cutting rates. The thing is, it's been kind of baked in over the last month that this was going to happen. And 50 basis points that they ended up doing was, what was expected, but there was some uncertainty whether it would be 25 basis points or 50 basis points. So, with the 50 basis points being expected, a lot kind of was already baked in, and we've actually, since the cut, seen interest rates kind of stay flat. And in some cases actually go up a little bit over the last several days. So, it's good to be in the position where we're finally in an environment where the expectation is that rates will continue to go down, but it's a little bit of a wait and see approach at this point to see what this 50 basis points is going to do to the economy, if anything. So we went out to the market this morning for the bid for the $1,500,000 and received 5 bids. So that was good result to see, with the low bid being Fidelity Capital Markets of a 2.6393%. So last month we received a 2.67% for the financing. So you can see that rates continue to come down a little bit month over month, and to be under the 3% pretty regularly now is a good thing. Hopefully that's the trend kind of going forward. So if we go to page 3 here, the general obligation promissory note, series 2024-25D, $1,500,000. This issuance will close October 15th of 2024 with maturities June 1, 26 to 29. First interest June 1, 2025 is non-callable. The district did receive the AA1 bond credit rating, so this is affirming what you've had in the past. Rating report is at the back of this packet. And again, the low bid, 2.639%. The next page, page 4, this contains the long-term financing illustration, which you've seen in the past. Left side of the page, that's your existing debt payments on an annual basis. The middle of the page is the financings that are scheduled for the fiscal year. And then the right side of the page is what is anticipated, baking in not only the financings that have been done, but also financings that may take place in the future, and targeting certain targets on the right side of the page, which we continue to hit and be under on an annual basis. So all good news to share, and it's great to see that we're starting to get the bidders coming to the table pretty regularly. That's all good news.
Are there any changes in the I forgot what it's called now, the in Moody's report, the ratings report?
No change from last one.
Any questions, Director Elmore?
Question, when we see rates drop this big, does it make sense for us to do any other like refinancing or something to try to capitalize on that?
Yeah, no, at this point, there isn't any outstanding debt that would make sense to look at refinancing. I mean, a lot of the district's debt, fortunately, is at very, very low interest rates. When we did the 20 to 21 type financings where we were seeing, 1% or even less on some of those financings. So fortunately, the district has a lot of outstanding low cost debt on the books.
Thank you.
I should also say that I've asked Baird to keep an eye on this and to let us know if they think that there is an opportunity. Some of our loans are not callable either. We can't bring them in early. But we did one such transaction 5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, where we had some debt that was at a higher rate, and I can't remember the mechanism that we used, but essentially we did a rate swap. But those are dependent upon the ability to recall the old debt. So any other questions? I thought I saw a hand. Dr. Najib, anything? All right, thank you. We have a motion by Director Owen Moore and a second by Director Burris. Would you please call the roll?
Director Burris?
Aye.
Director Case? Director Mendia-Ramos?
Aye.
Director Mormon-Kunde?
Aye.
Director Najib?
Aye.
Director Owen Moore?
Aye.
Director Pence?
Aye.
Director Baker?
Aye.
Director Foley?
The motion passes, the resolution passes. Thank you. Next is resolution F0332-09-24, authorizing the issuance of $1.5 million in general obligation promissory notes, series 2024-2025E of Milwaukee Area Technical College District, Wisconsin. Is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Chair, I move approval of 5B.
Thank you, Director Baker. Is there a second?
Second.
Director Burris, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Anything about this that differs from our usual monthly financing? Are there any questions about this resolution or the proposed authorization? Director Najib, anything?
No.
All right, we have a motion by Director Baker, a second by Director Burris. Would you please call the roll on this resolution?
Director Case? Director Mendia-Ramos?
Aye.
Director Mormon-Kunde?
Aye.
Director Najib?
Aye.
Director Owen Moore?
Aye.
Director Pence?
Aye.
Director Baker?
Aye.
Director Burris?
Aye.
Director Foley?
Aye, resolution passes. Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Next is policy retirement/review. Let's see. Let me ask Director Baker a question. Is there one or more of these that you want to get into in depth?
Well, if I could suggest, Mr. Chair, I would say, I would move approval of, policy review 6I, J, and K based on information that was sent to the board today. So we had the policies that these policies are, covered. somewhere else. I would move approval of those and we should move approval of all of them so that we can discuss them. But then I would like to discuss the others. So if you'd like, I could make a motion to approve all policies. And then we can take out the ones we're going to discuss or whatever.
Given that the number that we're going to talk about exceeds the number that we're not, I would entertain a motion to approve them all, and then we can just discuss them in sequence or whatever sequence appears appropriate. Is there such a motion?
Hey, Mr. Chair. I move approval of policy retirement review items 6A through K.
Is there a second?
Second.
I think Director Burris was first to the second, so we'll go with that.
Yeah.
And let's see, is this going to be our general counsel, Sherry Terrell? What? All right, so I think is there any more logical order than just going through these from A through H in sequence?
There is.
Okay, all right, so we have policy C0202 complaint procedures. Any comments or questions about that one? Director Baker.
So I did spend a bunch of time on this. And hopefully it's helpful. This one, we want to retire, and it says because it's an administrative procedure, which I get that. It does seem procedural in its language. All of our procedures are there because they reflect the policy that is that level, that is enshrined at that level. And so the only thing I would ask is, could someone share with us what policy this is a procedure of? And you don't have to do that tonight.
Okay.
Just, I forgot to ask Beth about that earlier.
Okay.
That's what
Yeah.
I would say about this one.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
Any other questions, comments, etc. about 6A? Okay, let's go on to 6B. Any questions or comments about 6B? Director Baker.
So here's what I will sort of preface this with, that the next several all raised concern for me. So there is a difference between policies and a handbook, difference between policies and procedures, that sort of thing. So there are things that are codified or enshrined, I like that word, in policy because it's protective for the organization, because if someone comes at us for something, we say, no, we have a policy on that. Here's our policy. And that is at the level of governance and oversight. That's what policy is about. And then we have procedures that make that happen. And we have a handbook, which is a way that we speak with our employees and that we sort of work out with our employees, particularly about how you work and what you get paid and all of those sorts of things. So I was looking at these to see which of these really don't rise to that. This should still be enshrined in policy. Or they're covered by something else. So that's kind of my general of how I was looking at these. So the two attachments 6B and 6C, and both could be in our policy that we have that delegates authority to the president, and we have a policy that actually delegates our HR, our human resources work. So if these policies, if these two are referenced in that policy, then we could retire these two. And particularly 6C, because the authority for it actually comes from the Wisconsin Technical College system and is a policy of theirs. So before I retire it, I want it enshrined somewhere in our policies. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, and I think our policy A0202-3 delegates administration of personnel policies and procedures to the president or their designee. And so I think that's where these would be appropriate.
Perfect.
Cool. Okay. That's why I said I was hoping this would be helpful and not a pain, but we'll see.
Any other questions about 6B or C?
I had the same thoughts, so.
Okay.
Just to kind of-
So, do we need to bring those back?
Well, I would not move approval of retiring any of these until
let me
we
bring-
saw where they are, where language enshrines the
Okay.
policy parts of it.
And when you say any of these, is
The
that
first three.
everything from B through?
Well, I'm gonna say B through H,
Okay,
and we're about to get into the next ones, but certainly, yeah.
So for the two we've just addressed with the moving it to A0202-3. Then that one will come before the board to review as an update. And then we will also have this to say these are being retired because we're asking the board to update. Yes.
Thank you.
okay. Do you have comments you want to make specifically about 6D?
So, yeah, 60, E, well, wait a minute, yeah, 60 is, this was the comment I was making before about the policy manual and the handbook are not the same. So it says, that this is it's covered in the handbook, and well, that's fine. We do need something that, again, is enshrined at a policy level that says we provide benefits. It could be in some other policy, it's not like we need to have a piece of paper that has this one line on it. But it is still something that's a policy of the colleges, that we provide this, and it's not just our handbook.
Okay, I can look at these. One of the reasons these are coming, and I probably should have prefaced it with this, is that because we have them in multiple places, when we update, we're not updating in multiple places. So just trying to figure out the board's pleasure with regard to if we're having it in one place, where else do we need it, or do we not need it anywhere else?
And again, my sense is that if I do apologize for that,
But why wouldn't we update it all across?
You just generally don't remember, to be honest. I mean, usually when it's updated, for example, there are handbook things that have been updated, but there may be a corresponding policy and the policy wasn't updated, but we came to the board and updated.
Right.
And it's just the way it ends up working, unfortunately.
So as long as
There's no
it's-
cross.
Right, but if it's the same, it will be updated in both places. That's my
That's
question.
the hope, but things are missed.
Okay.
So wouldn't it be easier to have it in one place?
Yeah. That was my next
Yeah.
question.
Well, yeah, if it's a policy like we were discussing before, like, okay, this policy really could be under this one HR policy, great, we can do that, and then we only have to update it in one place.
Right.
But the handbook and policies are different, so if something gets updated in the handbook, then it needs to be updated in policy.
Okay, so I got you.
Sorry, I would have thought vice versa, like the policy stands first and then the handbook comes second.
The policy is very broad, and I think what happens
More
is
specific.
in the handbook, it's a more specific implementation of that general policy, but sometimes what is proposed as a specific implementation goes beyond what was or theoretically in conflict with what the policy says. So the policy needs to be, if we need to have this at a policy level, that should be the place where it is. And if there is a need for references in the handbook, I think you would just reference that policy rather than restating it as a thing that needs to be updated.
I
Does that
agree.
make sense?
Mhm.
Okay,
Want me to keep going?
yes, please.
Okay, so E and H, hate to kind of skip around a little, but E and H actually, to me, have a very similar rationale. So H is the one about the Fair Labor Standards Act. E is the one around unemployment compensation. Now, both policies essentially are saying we're going to follow the law. And I think they were saying, well, we could retire them because these things are law. Again, I think it's important for us to have that codified as a policy in the same way we have a policy that says we have taxing authority and we will tax. I mean, that's law. We have taxing authority and we have a policy about our geographic boundaries that's written into state regs. You know, I think some of these things are still, they're important for us to state in policy. So I think the thing on UC and on Fair Labor Standards Act, perhaps, again, you could have one policy that says the MATC district follows all pertinent state and federal law regarding personnel, including, and list, you know, whatever. And I tried to do a little research on this with like Wisconsin Association of School Boards and, you know, some organizations that look at this stuff. And really the policies are about legally protecting the institution. So I do think that this is important to some way enshrine those two.
Director Owenmore.
I would push a little further than even Director Baker on this one, just because if the law was to be taken away, it doesn't necessarily mean that we as an organization would want to operate without that. Like if the law said, you don't have to offer unemployment compensation, we might not want to, for our employees' sakes, do that. And so it would just be that we're following the law. So I think that what we want to be in policy for our employees should be there. And then as the laws change, if there are things where the law becomes more tightened and we have to adapt the policy to meet that, we do that. But I think also for the opposite, for the protection, things that are of value to us as an organization, we should make sure stay enshrined in policy.
Any further comments on those two particular policies?
Yeah.
Director Najib?
Yeah. So just I'm trying to understand it. My understanding, the handbook is really like for the employee this instruction for the employee, like letter of understanding how we're gonna function. And in the handbook, usually there's things related to policies and things not related to policies. Sometimes something like simple day-to-day activity. So if things in the handbook are important for the organization, so maybe they need to be in a policy too at the same time. This is not redundant. This in the handbook was accessible to the employee to see it and implement it, but also in a policy level because it needs to be enforced and has some like legal position also. So I don't see the contradiction why it should be in both areas. I think why should we retire the policy if we think that important?
I think we're all saying the same thing differently here. You want to continue?
I think there's only two left. There's one on life insurance, that's attachment 6F.
Okay.
And this one could go in that one where we were talking about benefits. And then it's still, you know, it's enshrined that we give these benefits, but they could all be in one policy. And then the last one is the one 6G on bargaining agents. I do believe that this was spoken to in the public comments. So regardless of that issue, this is also something that I seriously think we have to keep at the policy level, not just because handbooks change and handbooks are not at that level. Plus, you never know what's going to happen with state law and our new Supreme Court and Act 10 and a variety of other things where the handbook's role could change. It could be a very different thing. We could be bargaining fuller contracts or whatever. So keeping this at a policy level, I think just makes a statement about who we talk to and why we talk to them.
Okay.
And the union president was clearly identifies as a she and not a he. It says he in here.
There's gendered language throughout the policies that
Okay.
needs to
That
be.
might be a problem.
Yeah. I think that was just in the notes, but
Yes, the blue.
Thank you.
yeah, that was all of it.
All right, so now we need to clarify how we're going to move forward here. We have a motion and a second to approve the entire set, but we're not approving the entire set. So first thing I want to do is make sure I understand which ones are still in what we are approving today and which ones are not. So I, J, and K are not controversial. There's no reason to hold those back. Is there any comment to the contrary about those?
Mr. Chair, I would make an wow, I just lost my word.
Maybe motion.
Huh?
Friendly
Thank you.
amendment?
An amendment. I just like totally lost count. I hate getting old sometimes. Yes, I would like to amend my motion and move for passage of 6I, J, and K. While holding over 6A through H for further information from the administration.
Director Burris, do you renew your second?
Yes.
All right. So we have, thank you. We have a motion to approve 6I, J, and K from Director Baker, and a second from Director Burris. Any further discussion before we take a voice vote? All right, would all those in favor of approving 6I, J, and K indicate that by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes.
Can I just note something real quick?
Sure.
Given that I know we've been trying to update all of our policies as part of a scheduled timeline, will these then be noted as reviewed or revised, even if we don't make the changes, like if we don't take them out? I think that would be, that would.
We'll
help you
just
with
do
your-
it.
Okay, good.
At the same time.
All right.
Okay. And I don't think we have to do anything with 6A through H, except to note in the minutes that those are being deferred.
Yes.
All right. Thank
And
you
I'll come
very
back
much.
to you for both.
Thank you for all your hard work, Director Baker.
Yes, thank you very much.
It was a rabbit hole.
Director Faces joined us too.
Thank you.
All right, next is agenda item 7, policy approval. All of the policies listed here are a second read or more. Could I get a motion to approve? Let me just poll the board. Is there reason to pull these out separately? Doesn't appear there is. So is there a motion and a second to approve all 3 of the policies that 7A, B, and C?
So move.
I'll take that as a second, Dr. Najib.
Okay.
And Director Owen Moore. Got to work on our buzzer skills here, you know, like on Jeopardy.
Just to note, Director Case is here too.
Yes, I saw her. Thank you. All right, so any discussion about item 7A? Questions, comments? There being none.
I'll say one, just, I'm fine approving all of these. I'm a little uncomfortable still that we do not have a limit. We say the activity facilitator is 15 hours a week, but there, it's just it seems to me there ought to be some place where we say, oh, if you work 400 hours in a year, you become a regular part-time or whatever it is. And we don't need to do that now. I understand it went through the committee and I'm fine approving it. I just would love to see that in the future.
I think that is for Dr. Cruz to think about in the future.
So can I just jump in real quick on that
Sure.
one? I don't know if Elle is there, but Elle did.
No,
send-
Elle is not here tonight.
Okay, so she did send an email saying the benefits policy does have a minimum hours requirement. So if they were to work the hours required to be benefits eligible, they would then receive all of the benefits that come with that as a part-time employee. So that is called out in a different policy, I believe. And I don't know if that resolves the concern that you have, but that
How
is
is that
addressed.
limited?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure it said that the policy is not, if you're a casual worker, you're not eligible.
Right, and we did have a discussion with the group and the handbook committee. We met on September 6th of this month. And what was discussed was basically for activity facilitators, it is not continuous employment. It's project specific, it's cyclical. And so basically, if you do the math, 15 times 52 is 780. So the decision was to take it out and not encourage people to ramp it up, because that's not the intent of the activity facilitator. It's for periodic, sporadic, non-continuous types of assignments. And we did add some language at the bottom there that we would not use the position basically to circumvent or avoid hiring somebody as a regular part-time employee. So I think that's the spirit and intent, is not to ramp that up. We haven't had anybody in recent years that have ramped up to that level.
So the question I asked her specifically is, if a limited part-time employee reaches the hours threshold, will they be eligible for benefits? And she said, yes, anyone who breaches, which has never happened, would be eligible for benefits if their hours average per week meets the benefits threshold.
And we went back and looked at the summary plan description for that benefit. And there is the caveat in there about continuous types of employment, regularly continued employment.
But if they're working, if they're not working continuously, doesn't mean necessarily that they're not continuously employed. So I would have a concern with that, because I think continuous employment, even if you're not working week over week, is different than what you just said.
But again, it's usually project specific. It's
right. But do you terminate them and rehire them every time they come on, or are they listed as a part-time limited employee and you just give them hours as needed? Because to me, that would differentiate continuous employment versus continuous hours.
right. And we went back and looked at the summary plan description for the benefit, and that was the conclusion.
I'm sorry.
What was the conclusion?
That basically there had to be this regular continuous type of employment to be benefit eligible.
Right, but my question is, are they continuously employed and just given hours as projects as needed, or are they actually terminated and then brought back on per project?
Guessing it's probably a little bit of both, but
Okay, so
a lot of times they're not terminated if we do use them for different projects. Like a good example of that is Milwaukee PBS, and some of the producers, they work a certain number of hours.
So I think that needs to be resolved in order to close that concern.
When you say it needs to be resolved, we need to
If they're differentiating it by continuous employment, then we need to have something that says they are not continuously employed, as that would make them eligible, versus they are brought on and exited for projects, because I'm not clear on exactly how we're handling it, and it doesn't sound like we're getting a clear answer, but that's the differentiator per what is being stated.
Director Mendieta Ramos.
So if I can ask you, Debbie, a question. So if you bring in a new host, you hire them, they do their project
As an activity.
as an activity facilitator, then they get terminated or they stay dormant? And then if you need them again, then you call on to that host.
They stay on the file because we only use them a few hours a month.
So to me, that says they're still employed.
Yeah. So that kind of answers the question.
So that is there a situation, I think I'm directing this to Director Case. Is there a situation where we would need to have both options? That is, we have this particular kind of a facilitator that's very few hours, but it's very regular for whatever the period of the contract is, versus there are people that we hire, which when the project is done, we really don't have any idea whether they're coming back again, and we might want to terminate them for whatever reasons. I'm not clear on what those reasons would be. Do we need to have the ability to do each of those or both of them, not both, but each of those in a particular situation?
Yes, I would say both are reasonable, and there's likely a business reason for both of those things to happen. My concern is that if the benefit language speaks to continuous employment, then that's not resolving the concern that was addressed.
Okay, so we need to make sure that the benefit language is consistent with either of these possibilities, but that the person be hired in circumstances where which possibility we are choosing to apply is clearly stated somewhere. Is that
Yes,
fair?
yes, I would agree.
Okay, Director Burris?
Thank you. Should I ask you, should I put my hand up this way or like out this way?
I saw you, I just didn't get you yet.
All right. So I think we kind of negate what we're doing here with the statement on the bottom. So going back to Director Baker's point is that there should be a limit there. I don't see why we would take it out and then put that statement there. It was stated that Director Case received the email from HR saying that they've never had someone go over it. So why would we take it out now if it's already been there? Your name, sorry.
Dan.
Dan states that they're in a way doing it to ensure that individuals don't kind of try to get up to those hours. So in a way, we are trying to say that we're not trying to hire this person on, in my mind, is what I'm hearing. So in a way, we are trying to circumvent hiring this person as a part-time employee. So I think if we just put the hours back there, then maybe we'll just alleviate that problem and this person will get the benefits that they are entitled to if they work over these hours. Because who is monitoring it? I think was back to your question. Who is monitoring if this person does go over said hours?
Well, isn't that part of the computerized system?
Yeah, we can pull the numbers, and I think when we did the look back, I think we had like maybe 25 or 28 cases, and I think the vast majority were under 100 hours, with the exception of maybe 2 people.
Yeah, but the question I think Director Burris is raising is, if you're not looking at this historically, because we're looking at the policy right now, who's going to notice whether this number of hours that's no longer stated here is exceeded or not?
And I would think hopefully talent acquisition is in a position to kind of know in some of those cases, or if we need to run regular reports, we could do that as well.
Can I follow up?
I'm sorry.
Can I follow up?
Yes, go ahead.
I think this was brought to us, 2 or 3 different times, and Director Baker has had the same question each time. I still don't feel like it's being answered. And then I also feel as though, what is so bad about having the number there? Like, if that's the only thing that we took out, why can't we just put it back and say that this policy was reviewed? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, and to be clear, I wasn't necessarily saying I needed that number.
Right,
I just,
yes.
I think there is a number somewhere. It would seem to me that we have some place where if you've worked a certain number of hours, we say, oh, you're a regular employee.
Mhm.
Because this actually, the definition of an activity facilitator is you are not eligible for benefits, annual bargained wage increases or other compensation, blah, blah, blah. So, this is a special class of folks.
Mhm.
If one of these people works 15 hours a week and ends up, you get a whole bunch of projects and suddenly they've worked a whole mess of hours, and I'm that person, how do I know when I become a regular part-time employee? Or even a regular LTE who can buy into our insurance? So that's, and again, I know this went to committee and I respect the joint committees and I want to approve it. I'm just uncomfortable because I don't know where the guardrails are. In terms of an actual policy. Policies usually have guardrails.
Director Owen.
And I know that Director Case has her hand up too. In my current employment, the
Could
understanding.
you be a little louder?
Yes, my current employment, I'm understanding our limited term employees are kind of like this, where there's a 6-month contract around a specific project or something. And that can be renewed again, you can do it again for a limited term employee. But the procurement office is also watching to make sure, like, you're not just repeatedly hiring this person under this to avoid hiring a position. So there's a check and balance around it. And I don't know if we have something like that in place like this too. for these positions in particular, but that might be helpful in making sure, like putting those guardrails in place that we're not using this position to circumvent the hiring.
Well, and that's why that statement was added to the end.
Yeah.
That as a matter of policy, we're not going to do that. Implementation and supervision are different questions, right? Yes, Director Case.
My concern with the hours in there is that if that's not how the benefit policy reads, and instead it reads continuous employment, then the tracking of hours or guardrails based on hours is meaningless because it doesn't align to the benefits policy. So I do think that there should be something that aligns to that, that says this is the point at which you will now become eligible, whether that was your intent or not. And I'm not sure the handbook committee necessarily is privy to some of those policies. So I would just ask that whatever that language is that differentiates that is consistent in this policy, so that there is no confusion as to what the guardrails are.
Okay. Let's do that, and let's bring it back one more time and see if we can get this done at the next board meeting. Next is policy D0501, development, modification, and improvement of instructional programs and courses. Any comments? What?
7A. Yeah, we could do that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were doing it all at once. All right, so let's look at 7A medical and personal leave changes. Any comments there? I'm waiting for Director Baker to affirmatively tell me she has nothing, because this is a lot of the result of a lot of her comments.
There's parts of it I wish we used the same language the state does. We don't. That's fine. We are allowed to do what we want on it. So I will go along with it.
Any other questions or comments about policy 7? Lost it here. A Romanet 2. Okay, so we're gonna have to restructure our motion here, but we'll come back to that in a minute. All right, next is policy D0501. Are there any comments or questions about that one? Seeing none, what about policy D0106, community service programs? Okay, no questions or comments there. All right, so I believe the only part of this that we are holding out is 7A Romanet 1. Anybody disagree with that? Okay. Let's see, this was a motion by Director Owen Moore.
I do have a quick question.
Okay, Director Burris.
For 7A, like, when do we have to revisit this again? Like, is it gonna be on a schedule or?
What is the length of the schedule for policy reviews?
Handbook.
Oh, this is handbook. I'm sorry. Okay, so there's no specific time, nor any limit. Any other questions? Okay, so I would invite an amendment to the existing motion by the movant to approve policy 7A Romanet 2, B, and C, but not A1.
So moved.
And Director Najib, I have you as the second.
Yes,
Is
a
that
new second.
okay? All right, so that is the motion on the table, essentially to approve everything under 7 except 7AI. Would all those in favor indicate that by saying aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Those portions of the policies listed are approved. We will expect to hear next board meeting about 7A Romanet 1. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Reports. We'll start with the chair's report. At your seats is one of these, or should be, the 2024 Annual Security and Fire Safety Report. The report is published every year in accordance with the Clery Act, which mandates that schools must publish an annual report disclosing campus security policies and 3 years of selected crime statistics. I just want to say there was some conversation about having an item on this month's agenda about the security incident of a few weeks ago, and that it is not on the agenda yet. If you have questions about that, please direct them to me and we'll figure out what we can talk about and when. There's still an investigation going on, so we can't really address that in public. Second, early voting site. MATC's downtown campus will be an early voting site for City of Milwaukee residents for the fall general election. The college's partnership with the city's election commission serves students and connects them to this important right. Employees and members of the community who are City of Milwaukee residents can also vote at the site. The site is open October 22nd to November 2nd, closed on Sundays. Hours right now are 11 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday and 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Saturdays. Voting will take place at the downtown campus S building, room S114 at 700 West State Street in Milwaukee. Voters may use the main student center entrance along 6th and West State Streets. 15-minute voter parking will be available along West State Street. Next, MATC Day information. District board members are invited to attend our next MATC Day, which will be held on Tuesday, October 15th at the Baird Center. The theme for the day is, quote, "Together we shape our future," close quote. Key topics will focus on student success, innovation, belonging, mattering, and employee appreciation. Doors to the Baird Center will open at 7:30 a.m. with the general session scheduled to begin at 8:30 with opening remarks from Dr. Cruz. The keynote speaker will be Dr. Terrell Strayhorn, President/CEO of Do Good Work Consulting Group. Dr. Strayhorn and his team work with hundreds of colleges, universities, districts, and agencies in moving the needle on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging outcomes for staff and students. Dr. Strayhorn's session will begin at 10:30 a.m. Afternoon workshops focused on the day's key topics will begin in the afternoon, with the day concluding at 4 p.m. Boxed lunches will be provided for employees on site. I'm glad that the afternoon workshops will begin in the afternoon.
Could you do the date and time again?
Sure. The date is October 15th. At the Baird Center, it opens at 7:30 a.m. The general session and Dr. Cruz's opening remarks is at 8:30 a.m. The keynote speaker begins at 10:30 a.m. The day concludes at 4 p.m. Now, in order to make sure we don't get into trouble on open meetings laws, if you are planning to attend, would you please let me know so I can make sure we don't have a quorum at this meeting or can take the steps necessary if we do? Okay.
We could just not talk about MATC business, correct?
I think this probably is MATC business.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially the remarks by, what's his name again?
I know,
Dr.
some-
Cruz, yeah. Pretty hard to do that here. All right, any other questions about that? Next is, as you all know, we are in a strategic planning cycle. We have to come up with a new strategic 5-year plan before the end of this fiscal year. A critical step of that is for the board to review the mission and vision statement and decide whether it wants to make any changes while other activities are in process. We have been asked to make that decision about whether we're going to revamp the mission and vision statement by the end of October so that it does not interfere with the other timelines and time paths that are going on. So I think I'd like to offline before the next board meeting, get a sense of the board as to whether there is likely to be a majority of people wanting to revisit this. And if so, we'll figure out a process for doing that. If not, we may schedule it as just an agenda item on the board, October meeting. So I'll be sending out an email, or more likely Beth will be sending out an email asking about that. And this is just a poll. It's not committal. It's not a vote. Just how much time, what we're really asking is how much time do we need to commit to this? And do we need to do it outside of the regular board meeting? All right. That concludes my report. Next is President's report.
Thank you, Chair Foley, and good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to.
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, Erica.
That's
Thank-
okay. I can go
Foundation
after
report.
Dr. Cruz. No worries. I'll be fast. So Foundation Board report. The MATC Foundation Board met on Thursday, September 19th. At the meeting, the board discussed highlights from the previous fiscal year. In fiscal year 2023 to 24, the foundation raised $6.1 million.
Yes.
For more than 500 donors. The foundation was awarded $5 million in scholarships to 2,500 students and distributed more than $292,000 in emergency grants. The board authorized President Chantel Bird to sign an updated MOU with the college. They also accepted the full year 2023-24 audited financial statements presented by an independent auditor. Once again, it was a clean audit. Finally, the board discussed goals for 2024-25 year, which include launching a new scholarship for equipment and supplies, named Supplies for Success, increasing the number of donors to 550, raising $4 million with a stretch goal of $5 million. More than $1 million has already been raised to date. And that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Any questions for Director Case?
Any cool foundation events coming up?
Any cool foundation events coming up?
Maybe not that I know of, unless Laura's got something that she wants to share.
Oh,
I don't know if this can be heard. Can you hear me on the, or do I need to come to the table?
No, I can hear you.
Okay. Dr. Cruz will mention this a little bit, but the foundation is sponsoring an alumni event at the Brewer game where we're inviting alumni to come back and to get a chance to meet Dr. Cruz. And we'll be letting you know of other fun events that will come.
Excellent. No motorcycle events, electric or otherwise?
We'll work on that.
Yeah, we'll have to work on that. Thank you, Director Case. Now, Director Cruz, please.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Great to be here with all of you. And just wanted to give you an update on a few things that I think are very noteworthy that have happened in the last month since our last meeting. We had a visit from the Accreditation Commission for Education and Nursing late in August, and that visit went extremely well. The preliminary findings by the reviewers see no areas of concern or citations for improvement for our nursing program, which is our largest program here at MATC. In fact, they highlighted MATC's overall student support services as a strength. And so we'll be looking for an official notice from them by April. But this is a very significant, path to getting reaccredited. And as you know, that's a very important piece of any academic program, but particularly in nursing. And once we get that accreditation again renewed, it'll run for 8 years. So very proud of our faculty, our staff, our leaders in our nursing program for a job well done. So congratulations.
Good job.
Our colleagues did a great job a little earlier today in public comments about talking about our HSI Day of Engagement that happened on September 13th. So I won't go too much into that, but it was really great to have 4 other presidents from the system on campus and sharing their insights into some of them, which is the first one. Gateway actually became the first public HSI in the state of Wisconsin just recently. And many of the other ones are doing a lot of things when it comes to serving Hispanic students at their campuses and their colleges. So they were able to share that. But I want to shout out to the HSI steering committee here at the college for putting together the event and for their leadership in advancing the cause of us becoming an HSI in the near future. In addition to that, we had a wonderful event on September 18th at Walker Square, where we teamed up with the foundation, LULAC, the local chapter, and the Brewer Community Foundation. And 65 of our students received scholarships from LULAC in order to advance their studies. And so students received anywhere from $500 to $1,000 in scholarships from that organization. We had a great event there. We had news anchor Diana Gutierrez served as the MC for the event. We did get some really positive coverage from media for that event on several stations in the local area. So that was a very good showing for the college. On to my enrollment report. I just wanted to give you an update as we're already almost through our entire fall cycle. We're right now, we are up 5.3%, 5.43% from where we were last year when it comes to FTE. And that is almost 2 percentage points higher than our goal was for the year. I mean, for the fall semester. So we're doing extremely well on that. Next slide. And then if you look at headcount, we're up 8% on headcount as well. So we're doing extremely well on both. Numbers are still not finalized because we still have to get through our census date. But as you can see, the college has done very well. I want to thank everyone, faculty, staff, and everyone from marketing and recruitment that's done a marvelous job in trying to get our students, acclimated, getting new students acclimated, and as well as helping our continuing students to be able to reach this type of enrollment for the college.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to all. A really great job, team effort. From a DEI updates, we did have a restorative practice workshop, which is the first workshop that we've had thus far, and that took place on September 12th here at the downtown campus. The goals of the workshop were to gain understanding of restorative practices, principles and philosophy, connect with colleagues around issues of race and equity, and engage in practices of restoration. The workshop was sponsored by MATC's Restorative Practice Initiative, which is dedicated to deepening our commitment to DEI and anti-racism by cultivating authentic relationships and addressing systemic racial healing. That was a really good event. I think those that attended got a good sense of what we are embarking on when it comes to restorative practices. And again, this is a long-term process for the college, but I think it's great that we were able to, start on a good foot here. We also had just recently, last week, and I was able to attend this as well, was the Black Student Union inauguration event. Very well attended event where we inducted the new BSU board members. So there was a lot of students there, their family members, very festive event, and we had a great number of guest speakers that came in and were very inspirational. And more than anything, I was very impressed with the numbers of students who have joined BSU in the last year. And so that organization now is, I believe, over 300 students college-wide, maybe even 400. But I know it was about 150 that just joined this year. So I love to see that type of progress and that type of collaboration and growth in such an important student organization. When it comes to some pathway updates, community education has been progressing and establishing one-stop shops at all our campuses as recommended by the Community Education Action Plan and requested by the board. And these services provide a one-stop shop that include in-person conversations to determine students' needs, help them complete an online admissions application, and career coaching and exposure to all programs. To make sure that we have so many students, thousands of students that go through our community education programs, either through ESL, GED, and others, And so we want to make sure that they are really getting the services that need to make that transition. In our Create pathway, the animation and computer simulation and gaming programs moved into the new state-of-the-art classrooms on the second floor of the C building. Grand opening will be held in the spring to make sure that we invite all of you so you can see that great space. That'll be awesome to see you all there. On manufacturing, construction, transportation update from that pathway, from October 2nd to the 11th, there are gonna be students from our sister school in Germany. They'll be joining us. While the partnership was originally between automotive departments at each institution, other manufacturing, construction, and transportation areas will also be part of the visit. And then last I have here is last week, MATC, Milwaukee Electrical Joint Apprenticeship Training Committee, and the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 494, represented well at the Service Titan Elite Trades Competition Series while competing in the Ideal Elite Electricians National Championships. And 2 apprentices from the Construction Electrical program competed along with their instructor, Tom Kennedy, in the finals, and Kyle Bath finished in 2nd place for the apprentice competition, while Tom Kennedy took 1st place in the professional competition for the 2nd time in his career. I want to congratulate them on that great work. Yes, all worthy of a lot of applause. I just want to leave on what Laura was talking about. This coming Sunday will be MATC Day at the ballpark, which is actually the last game of the regular season. And we know that the Brewers are going to continue on into the postseason. And I will be privileged and honored to throw out the first pitch on Sunday. So that'll be a great thing for one of my boyhood dreams coming true after so many years later. But anyway, I hope to see you all there at the game. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions about the report? Okay, very good. Next is our District Student Senate report from Warren Murphy.
Thank you, Chair Foley. Thank you, Dr. Cruz, members of our board, administration, and community. My name is Warren Murphy. I'm the chairperson of our DSA, so our District Student Association. And the last time I was here giving a report, our student board representative position was vacant. After giving the report and promising that we would find the right person to fill this position, Director Moore Omkundi asked if I wouldn't consider the position myself. And after taking this into consideration, we decided as a team that it made perfect sense for the chairperson of DSA to be the person to update the board. So we've drafted legislation for that absorption of the role, and that'll be heard at our next DSA General Assembly meeting, which is the 26th. With that, I'm excited to share some of the wonderful things happening on our campus. Our campus student association elections are complete, and we have a fresh roster of students who are ready to make an impact. Also, Wisconsin student government begins on October 4th, 2024, with the WSG leadership training and meeting event at Nicolay College. Elizabeth Calixto, our WSG governor, and William Musoke, our newly elected lieutenant governor, look forward to representing us and are excited to continue to advocate for technical college education at the state level. As a student, this semester has been jam-packed with opportunity. I'm beyond grateful to have attended a conference in September called Camp 2030. At Camp 2030, 6 students from MATC gathered with roughly 200 other students and professionals from over 40 countries to workshop entrepreneurial solutions for the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. I'm elated to share that MATC's very own Elsa Marks secured 1st place with her team. Also, Apexa Prajapati and I's team took 2nd place. Both teams will now have an opportunity to pitch their solutions at the United Nations.
Whoa.
Without the support of MATC and our community, this could have never been possible, and we look forward to sharing our experiences following the event. The semester is well underway, and as we fully immerse ourselves in school, it can be hard to recognize the things happening around us. With that, I'd like to highlight a couple of events happening here at MATC. To celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, MATC will be hosting a Hispanic Heritage food truck at the Oak Creek campus on September 25th. Also, with it being an election year, MATC is hosting the Wisconsin Student Voting Summit at the downtown campus on September 27th. I'm looking forward to both of these events, and I hope to see you all there. With that, I'd like to thank you all for your time and the opportunity to share this information with you today. I am looking forward to continuing to keep the MATC board informed of our action, and I'm even more so looking forward to enjoying some great food at our food truck event.
Happy to have you.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. Let's see, next is our bi-monthly report from the PBS General Manager. Welcome, Debbie.
Hello. Nice to be here. Nice to see everyone. Just in time. So last night we were at the Best Place, actually night before that, recording the show that you would have seen last night on PBS, which was Crossroads, A Conversation with America. It was moderated by Judy Woodruff, longtime reporter, very recognized. She's been in journalism for 50 years. She had a lot to say at a donor event the night before, which was really nice. And we had 60 guests that we had worked with the PBS News team on vetting over the last 9 months. We've been working with them for production and for the guest list, and to try to get every age, race, education, every walk of life in that audience. And I think we did a really good job. I can see our camera guy right there sitting on the floor. There were 9 cameras in there, and I'm proud to say that our team did a really great job with that. This was seen, and it was run across 300, all of the PBS stations across the country. So we were really pleased to be able to do this. And we had a lot of really good comments from the PBS team about working with our team, which was always nice to hear. Next slide. Next slide. There you go. Nope. Go back. Okay, tomorrow night, we will have a free screening event, newest documentary, Roots and Legacy, Jesus Salas, who worked here for many years at MATC. And it's based on his book about the farm workers' struggle during the 1960s and how the movement led to a lot of new social service organizations and significant progress for Latinos in Wisconsin. So I invite you to come in and be in the audience. We would love to have you. Tomorrow night, it's at Flores Hall, starting at 6:30. There'll be a panel discussion afterwards. And Jesus Salas will be there along with Ernesto Chacon, the president of the Latin American Union for Civil Rights. And I probably messed up his name because. Okay, sorry. Thank you for correcting me. So please feel free to come by. We would love to have you there. Next slide. You've been hearing me talk about the manufacturing town hall for a little while. We've been working with the Journal Sentinel for reporting on manufacturing for the last year or so. And some of those reports have been on our public affairs show 1036, and a lot of them have been in the newspaper, which you probably would have seen recently. Rick Barrett has been the reporter who's done most of that reporting for Journal Sentinel. And on our side, that would have been Marianne Lorsensky, who's just retired in June, and Scotty Myers, who's thankfully still with us. And he has quite a ways to go before he retires, so we're not letting him go. So this will be next Thursday. So from 3 to 4:30, there'll be a job fair. And then from 4:30 to 5:30 is a panel discussion, which is actually a TV production. And it'll air several times in October, and you see there the first couple of airings and the dates and times. On the next slide, I'll show you who's on the panel. So we've got some really good names for the panel. We worked with the Journal Sentinel to go through, we talked to a lot of people in the community about what would be a good panel for this. Portia Young, who used to be an anchor in town, we're very blessed to have her. She is a host for one of our programs. She is an amazing
host. She's a journalist herself. So she'll be hosting, moderating this panel. And we'll also have video inserts that we wanted to be able to break up some of the conversation with some pieces that weren't, that were already pre-taped ahead of time. So President of Microsoft, we were really thrilled to get that. It's just really a great slate of people on here. And thanks to Director Pence for helping point out quite a few people that we should be thinking about. And I know that you're thinking about actually having a table here, no pressure, but for the job fair. I heard that
We'll be
you were, yeah. So that would be great. So another thing that we would love to have you come be a part of the audience for that. And that will air in October. And I'll remind Beth of the dates so that she can send those out. And then the last slide I have is a really good news that we have 4 Emmy nominations, which you're just thrilled to see. One for outstanding achievement for news gathering in the health medical field for mental health. Elizabeth Kramer has done those segments that aired during 1036, our public affairs program, and now we've started putting them in between programs on some of the highest rated nights, like around Masterpiece Theater, where there are a lot of people watching. So she's done some really great work. She will continue to do a few more of those. And then we're talking about how her next project, what that will entail. She lives on a farm, so I have a feeling it's going to have something to do with animals and mental health, but we'll see how that shakes out. And then outstanding achievement for news gathering military topics, and this would shape Shakespeare with veterans. That's one of our producers, Scotty Myers, who did an excellent job on that. And then 2 of our other producers, outstanding achievement for documentary historical, Al Capone and Prohibition in Wisconsin. It was based on Al Capone's granddaughter's book. And they actually had an interview with her, which was really fascinating. She has a completely different perspective because that's her grandfather. So she talks about him in a very different kind of a way. It's a great program. I encourage you to go on our YouTube site and find that. And then, of course, last year, right after I first started, we did the Violent Femmes show with the Milwaukee Symphony. I'm thrilled for all of the Emmy nominations, but this one was like the whole station worked on this. So I'm really pleased to see that the Emmy ceremony will be November 2nd. So keep your fingers crossed for us to take home some Emmys. And I will be happy to answer any questions you might have.
How will you staff all this cool stuff you're doing in the future?
Carefully.
Okay. How
Yes.
about apprenticeships and production engineering?
Yeah, we did talk about that. We did talk about having an apprenticeship. Yeah. And we've been working with the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association to try and find students who are coming up through engineering, and of course, there's an engineering school. So it's an area that we would love to be able to expand on. We certainly could use the help. It's really difficult to find people who straddle the line between broadcast and IP or IT kinds of things. And you have to have one foot in one side of the camp and one in the other. And they don't train broadcast engineers anymore. So you have to find somebody who's willing to kind of learn the engineering side of the broadcast side. So that's one position that you've heard me talk about that's been really difficult to fill. But we are so far handling things. We have a great team. I can't say enough about the team. Any other questions?
Any other questions? Anyone online? No.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Very cool.
Hope to see you at some of the events.
Next is the annual workforce solutions report. Is Lisa Reed here? There we go.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Chair Foley, President Cruz, and members of the board, and my colleagues and friends behind me. I'm Lisa Reed. I'm the Director of Workforce Solutions. Our team does 3814 contracts, which are closed contracts. So anytime an employer or organization is looking to partner with MATC and do a closed cohort, whether it's upskilling or credit bearing, or it could be non-credit bearing. We're the folks that take care of that. So we partner with our faculty that have expertise, the industry knowledge, and a lot of times the contacts that become our contracts. And we then project manage and deliver the training. Last week you received our annual report. And tonight I just have one slide that I'm going to highlight and then answer any questions that you might have. So our team last year, fiscal year 24, had a president's contract goal of revenue of 1.2 million. And I'm pleased and very proud to say we surpassed that and achieved 138% of goal. We surpassed 1.6 million, and it's a year-over-year increase of 11%. We definitely measure our key performance, and we do it in a number of different categories, one being the contract revenue. The next is training hours. We compare year over year. This year we had a 7% increase. Students served was 2008, a 20% increase. We scheduled 210 different sections, which is a 12% increase. We had over 70 training contracts and we served 42 clients. Of that 42 clients, 27 were repeat and 15 were net new. We service our contract training and use an expansion model of 3 different types of focus: short-term training, customized, and cohort-based. And in my report, I did share with you 2 different stories about customized training, as well as the cohort-based training. I think it's always more relevant to get an example and kind of see what we do and how we do it versus, hey, it's customized training. I'm sure Director Pence probably has some questions later for me about that customized training piece. So for the customized training piece, we partnered with a manufacturer, Pindell Global Precision Parts, and he actually had a relationship with our lead instructor. So this is where we get a lot of our referrals and our leads as well from our partnership and collaboration with our instructors. And many, many years ago, they worked in different organizations and paths crossed. And he started having a conversation with our instructor. And our instructor was like, Lisa, I need you and your team to come partner with us. So this journey started about 9 months ago. But together with their knowledge and expertise of what their business is, what their machining looks like, what their current skill force needed, together with our team and our expertise of knowing what kind of questions to ask and further along and project manage it, we landed on doing a customized training this summer down here at our downtown campus. It was Swiss machining. And so in my report, I also put a link in there to a story that was highlighted about this training. There's going to be a video too. I know you're excited about that. But it's really relevant because it interviews the student that talked about, I think the heartwarming thing that I got was not only learning and then taking it back to work and really applying it, but building her confidence up and seeing how her peers reacted to her expertise that she had. And she was able to add value back. And just hearing her talk about that really, kind of lands on exactly what we do every day here at MATC. The other story I had was about cohort-based training. This one was with the County of Milwaukee, who received some ARPA grants. And they used those grant funds to build a welding lab at the Community Reintegration Center. Some of us remember that as the House of Corrections. And so together, this is a long journey too, but with Employ Milwaukee, MATC, our MCT pathway, and my team, from the ground up, we built a welding lab. And last year, very proud to say we had 4 different cohorts that went through it. We passed 33 students. They were able to earn 6 college credits. And, you've heard about the reentry programs that Sadiq has here. But boy, does that melt your heart on that day that they get that certification, or it's a completion certificate and a digital badge. And the stories that they share of how they thought nobody wanted to, you know, give them any attention anymore, and they didn't want to give up. Also, I put a link to an Employment Milwaukee story of one of our students that from there, again, built his confidence up, restored his faith in what he was able to contribute, and went on to join into a apprenticeship type program. So those were just a couple things. I'll stop now to answer any of your questions.
Director Pence.
Do you do, so you do on-site and on-campus training?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Interesting. I've gotten some questions of, could we offer trade classes in Mequon? Because we have people to the north of us that have manufacturing facilities that would be, instead of going to Oak Creek, at some point, a consideration should be made to having some training classes in Mequon.
And who would we be training?
But these were mostly in my industry in tool and die and machining.
Okay.
So,
So-
but maybe the basic classes, or
It depends on if we have
Yeah.
the equipment at that campus that you're looking for the specific training. So is it in CNC?
yes,
Okay. To the best of my knowledge, we would not have that today at Mequon.
right.
We do downtown. We have
Mhm.
great equipment here as well as at Oak Creek. How about welding?
Do you like? Did you go to Bill
Kendall?
Varian's
Absolutely.
facility and
Yes.
train them on their equipment?
We went there to scope out what type of training
Okay.
we needed to do, which was competency based.
Mhm.
So we actually took our curriculum that's already approved by the state, and we start with that. And we then go through all the competencies and the outcomes and work with our manufacturer. And sometimes they have, you know, the ops folks there, the lean, the continuous improvement folks, they bring in their employees. We interview them, we assess where they're at, what they need. And then we, you know, right size it to what they need. So this particular training went from, you know, say like a 96-hour class down to a 64-hour class. But we did it here using our wonderful state-of-the-art equipment.
Cool.
Which I understand our Swiss machining is,
It's very good.
it's like nationally recognized.
The ECAM area is very good as well.
Yes.
So
What does that equipment cost?
a lot.
And if you wanted to replicate what we're doing downtown in Mequon, what are we talking about?
I know that that equipment was installed probably about 5 years ago. I'm turning around, and look at Dr. Dockwar. Yeah.
And what does it cost?
I'll get you a quote on one, but it's relatively expensive, so.
100 grand, 115 grand for a Swiss machine.
And you need one?
No, you need a bunch.
Right.
And
And you need space.
Millions of dollars?
Okay, because you have to have the
Oh, well,
right environment.
Yeah.
So it's not just the machine.
I mean.
Horticulture.
They're put them in there.
Yeah.
Could that be
Yeah,
done
there's
on
a-
your, at your
It's
site,
fun.
on the job training?
Well, at any manufacturer, they could go and do that at the job site. But are you saying I want to open a campus? As long as it's got pickleball.
All right, Director Baker.
So, you know, I know when we look at our facilities, one of the things that we do, particularly with the campuses that are regional, is also take a look at the industry in those areas and whether we're responsive. And, you know, so I know that they've looked at manufacturing in the past in Ozaki County and, you know, the area. And so maybe we need to relook at it if there's growth
I
and,
guess that was my point. It has
Yeah.
grown.
and whether that becomes part of our like facilities planning in the future.
We're doing that now, looking at, we have a new executive director that's over Mequon and West Allis. And so we're looking at both campuses and kind of figuring out what things we could do in the future that
Mhm.
meet those needs.
Okay.
So we're doing that now. I mean, I will come back to the board, especially with West Allis, we'll come back relatively soon with a plan. on how we can increase enrollment and growth at West Allis. Maybe with a smaller footprint, but nonetheless increase enrollment. And then the same thing at Micron, obviously we have a much larger footprint there and other things that we can offer there that may meet the needs of the community.
Director Owenmore.
I just had a question with regards to like the staffing for it. So is this our full-time instructors doing this in addition to their full-time teaching load? Is it like, I know sometimes in these areas we have trouble finding instructors. So how does the workforce solutions piece work in collaboration with that?
Right, great question, thank you. I'm pleased to answer it because we use our MATC instructors.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, when we have an opportunity, I work with the pathway deans and let them know, you know, that this is coming in. We also know to look at we have good relationships with our instructors and we know who wants to do it and who's, you know, willing to do it and so forth. And then we look at their loads and then we approach them and let them know about the opportunity, try to bring them in early on. Because they're a part of that. There's 180 programs here. We cannot be experts in all 180, but we know how to connect and bring everybody to the table. So we start with our full-time. If we find that we are not able to find somebody that has the capacity to do it, then we'll go to our part-time faculty. So full-time to part-time. We never hire outside. We do not use third-party agencies.
That's great.
I do want to say though, one plug for Dr. Duckworth and Carl Meredith. We've been able to grow and scale because they have supported my team by hiring full-time faculty that could be dedicated to my contracts and my book of business. And because of that, we also too have the confidence to go out and sell because we know that we have the way to deliver back to our community and back to our district. So kudos, guys.
Yeah, thank you. This might also be a good thing for people who are considering working here to know that there are some opportunities, especially in these areas.
Absolutely.
Where you might be able to get some extra hours, extra work.
Exactly.
Beyond just the salary. I'm saying that out loud so that people watching can hear that. We can recruit more people.
Right, go on LinkedIn. Right.
Any other questions or comments about the workforce report? Anyone online? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is board monitoring, student resources, Equan Burrows and Haley Weber.
Great day. Haley is not with us today. She had a personal issue to attend to, but I am here with her in spirit. Here to talk about student resources and our student resource center at large. You guys all have gotten a recording, should have gotten a recording with their presentation. And I'm just going to talk through the highlights of the presentation and go through it for everybody here in attendance today. Any questions before I get started? I'll jump right in. Of course, our approach to student resources here at MATC. The center particularly combines an extensive array of non-academic community services, social work, and mental health counseling resources to support students in need, and in order to remove those barriers toward academic success and direct their services to our community partners at large. We have over 35 community partners that partner with our student resource center. Many of them include housing support. You can give the next slide if you like. Housing support, legal services, transportation, childcare, employment, financial assistance, driver's license recovery, mental health care, and vision and health insurance. And also a new development in regard to clothing. You can go to the next slide for me. Our team is made up of a manager, 4 licensed professional counselors, a licensed social worker, which is a new addition to the framework, a student resource center specialist, serving all of our campuses, an administrative assistant, and 11 student workers who are mentored and coached every semester in order to be working with our students as peer support persons. Our student resource center services include, but are not limited to, again, a student pantry or food pantry at all 5 of our campuses now. Our most recent at Walker's was just instituted not too long ago. And there is no limit to the frequency of visits for those students, which is a major tenet of the decisions as to choosing Feeding America as our partner. MATC Student Emergency Assistance Grants. Those grants are up to $500 of emergency assistance for students who qualify for that program. And then we move to the next slide to talk through our impact within the Student Resource Center. All right, and as you can see, over the years from 2021 to this year, you've seen tremendous growth in all sectors of this particular measurements. One thing I'd like to draw our attention to are the food pantry poundage, right? We know that we're seeing over 7,000 pounds of food a week come through our campuses, and they're delivered to our students that are in need. And we are very, very proud of that, along with the increase in walk-ins, right? And that's only because of our accessibility and our outreach in regard to our professionals that are working in space. We're looking ahead, though, on the next slide. We are launching a career closet in collaboration with our career hub. They are great partners, and that should be up and running by the spring of 2025. And new partnerships will include transportation, looking into technology support, looking into more reentry support as well, and transitional support for those students that falls into those demographics. And so we are excited about all of our upcoming focuses and look forward to meeting all the needs of our students and kind. So if you have any questions, again, I'm here to field them and also follow up if I need to.
Anyone of the directors online have a question, comment? Dr. Najib?
No, thanks.
Okay. Director Burse.
Comments. I was actually able to tour the new facility today with Haley, and it is beautiful. It is lovely. I learned about the meals, ready meals that are placed in the fridge by the culinary arts students. And you guys get like 300 of those a day. I was like, that is amazing. She did show me the area with the career closet that's being developed. I thought that was super amazing. So you guys are doing great work.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Just a quick one.
Director
So do you
Najib.
partner with anybody specific, with the, like a retailer?
For the
For
career,
Oh, for the career?
we are fielding those opportunities as we speak. We are talking about Kohl's, we're talking about all these other persons, all these other entities that particularly there we have feelers out to see if they're ready to support as well, working with our foundation to make that happen. I know a lot of the partnerships are already created, and so we look forward to capitalizing on all the connections that we currently have.
Thanks.
I think the important thing to note is the career closet will not be accepting used clothes.
Yeah.
Just because, no, I mean, you could imagine that, but partnering with organizations and others that could provide new clothes, that's the intent.
Excellent question.
Any other questions? Great, thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any new business? We are
Oh,
going to talk.
yes, I have
What-
several items. I want to-
Just 1 second. Please make sure that our list of things, new business includes the strategic planning schedule, how we're going to handle that
Yes, yes.
for the board's
I can do
input.
that too. Or that's up to you.
Okay, Director Burris?
Okay. All right, so open comments. We brought up the Zanzel issue again, or we heard about the Zanzel issue again, and I think Director Baker already said something about maybe getting additional information in somebody else's report or bringing it back to the board. Or was that?
What we asked was that the administration figure out the best way for us to get information about the magnitude of our Zansel costs.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
And so I think what I heard in open comments from the union president was that they came to us and thought that those conversations were being fruitful, but it didn't materialize. So I'm hoping that we can just kind of make sure that those two parties are talking and working together in order to like resolve it, because what I don't want to see is our faculty and staff doing work that they're not being compensated for.
Right.
So that'll be the first one. Okay. And the second was Dr. Martin's emeritus status. I sent you an email this past week to kind of get more clarity on what those boundaries included.
I haven't seen that, so let's talk offline about where it was sent, and I'll check and make sure I've got it. If not,
I sent it to your MATC email, but also just to follow up, Sid Lally had originally sent the email that I followed up on just to kind of see whether or not it was going to be added to the agenda or whether or not we would get information offline. But I would like to explore that further, because I think when we did the approval at the organization meeting, there was conversation by Supreme who asked whether or not that would include an email.
Well, let's not get into the specifics here, but I have Director Mendieta Ramos's email, and I have not gotten to it, but I will.
I appreciate that. Last thing is the safety, public safety. I know that I emailed the board and spoke to several board members regarding how the college is sending out information to students and faculty when there are things going on campus. And I think you addressed this briefly in your report, but I think maybe my requests different from what you thought I was trying to ask. They didn't want to speak to the issue that the board was notified on, but more of how are we responding in general to
Yes.
those. And I would have liked to see that on the agenda, and that didn't happen. So I would like that.
That is in my hands right now, and I expect it will be ready for the next board meeting. I can send you, we can send out the information that's been developed. This may be sufficient because they talk about both the various levels of communication inside and outside the college and what the thresholds are for those. And the college has also moved up our board members' position in that hierarchy, so that I think it's whenever there is a general communication.
Just a reminder that new business, we don't actually discuss.
Yeah, I understand. Has already changed. So I will circulate some information about this and see if we need to have it on the board's agenda for the next meeting afterwards, if that's all right with you.
No, I'll push back on that, because I was aware of things that I brought to you, and you were aware of things that, and we had a conversation, you said that it will be discussed at this meeting, and that didn't happen. So I don't feel as.
Okay, so I'm
I'm gonna push back and say that if we have the safety of our faculty and staff at the highest priority, that we shouldn't keep pushing it out, that we should address it. And I don't feel like it was being addressed.
Got it.
Mhm.
Anything else?
No, that'll be all for now.
Okay. Anybody else have any new business?
I have two things.
Okay.
One of them is a positive comment that I just want to say that it's been a long time since we have some positive comments during the open comments. So it was very refreshing and encouraging to hear the positive feedback. So I just wanted to make a point of that. I'm
Okay.
sure you also feel the same way. Another thing is I also wanted to get some clarity on our video policy in regards to how we post the board meetings on YouTube and how our recordings in particular. So I was approached by a couple of faculty members that wanted to watch our meetings and they went back and they noticed that they were either cut out either from the beginning or at the end. So how do we decide how we
So,
edit,
oh,
how we edit
I-
what's posted?
I don't understand what you're saying was cut out. Just the beginning of the meeting and the end of the meeting, or?
Sure, if you want, but yeah, like not the entire board meeting was posted online.
Okay.
So it should be posted from the time that we call the meeting to order until you adjourn.
Yeah.
That's not the case.
Not if we go into closed session.
Correct, but aside from that,
Okay, so I'm gonna let Dr. Cruz figure out who needs to look into that and make sure that's happening. And if there's some misunderstanding here about what's being cut out, closed session or whatever,
right,
we'll get to the
aside
bottom
from
of that.
closed session.
Kind
Dr.
of
Burris.
follow up to that point, because when I was discussing Vicky Martin's emeritus status, I asked to see the organization meeting that we did have to approve that, and they said that we don't record it, so that entire meeting was not recorded.
Okay, wasn't aware of that. But let's find out what the policy is about what we're recording and not, or posting and not tonight. Anything else for new business? Okay. I think we are at the end. Future events, our next board meeting is scheduled for October 29th. And is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.
With all those people asking us about the time for early voting, do we have any influence over that?
We already, by the way, we already took one step on that because